Hi, this is Anna Imagination with the Healing Garden, and welcome to Shifting Perspectives. I do most of my philosophical thinking and having epiphanies at 2:30 and 3 o'clock in the morning. If you are familiar, or new to my channel, I am a philosopher, psychologist, sociologist of 30 years. I was first introduced to philosophy by my rapist. He was grooming me for being an escort in New York City. And you can't be an escort to billionaires and be stupid. You can't. It's mandatory that an escort to billionaires be educated, groomed, well-rounded. Kind of like Madame du Pompadour to Louis XIV. Madame du Pompadour was the lover of Louis XIV. These are women. Madame du Pompadour was one of these women who was groomed in music, art, theater, dance, anything you can think of, including sex, for the sole purpose of being a pretty practical decoration to hang on the king's arm. I believe Madame du Pompadour was the most famous escort in the world in all of history. And that's what I was. At 15, I was groomed. And it was required of me to be logical, intelligent, well-rounded. And my punishment was rape if I was not logical. As a result, I learned very quickly that if something was not logical, the consequences were high, and I trauma bonded to logic. To this day, I have this amazingly strong PTSD trigger. It's no longer a PTSD trigger, but I can feel when something is illogical. I can feel it so intuitively that my entire system develops significantly strong cognitive dissonance because, well, I was raped if I wasn't. As a result, I was able to use cognitive dissonance to navigate through illogic, including concluding why something was not adding up very quickly and very efficiently, because God forbid if I didn't. After 5 years of that, and after 9/11, I had an epiphany referred to as the Rorschach print perspective, which became the foundational work to everything I do. Traumatic healing, the philosopher's compass, perspective psychology, all of it. And it embedded in me an inexplicable obsession to understand. I would say that I would have developed this easily without him. And I would say that I had this in me before I met this person. Part of my therapy was learning how to live with my own knowledge and education. I owed him. My therapist argued I didn't. I'm what I am today because of him. He was my rapist. I owed him nothing. But if he hadn't put me through that, you did your mental work. My therapist and I spent 3 years arguing this topic before I finally was able to process it in a way that allows me to accept, love, and adore my education. At the end of the day, even though he decided which books I owned, which ones I had to read, which ones would get me to the next step, the choice was mine. He said something once that stuck with me. It's actually one of the core memories with him. When you lie with dogs, you're going to get fleas. So here I am. 30 years later, I remember how impressed my family was with that line. They revered his intelligence. Yeah, they revered his intelligence. And I did not give that line any thought until tonight. Tonight, I'm thinking about networking. I'm thinking about class systems. I'm thinking about the prejudice that exists between the different classes. And I wrote an email to Dr. Chalmers, a philosopher who lives here in New York City. He teaches at the University of New York. And I reached out to him for a conversation, primarily only because I crave talking to another philosopher. I thought about that. Why do I crave talking to another philosopher? I have had some intellectual conversations. There's a few people, in fact, there's a couple people who I have in my back pocket, metaphorically, just so I can call them up and say, I need to be intellectually stimulated by someone who can make me think. Can we talk? And we'll talk for an hour and we'll both walk away from the conversation feeling refreshed. That got me thinking. So I'm laying in bed and I'm thinking about all of these little pieces, and I start to see my gorgeous little triangle, philosopher's compass, come into it. And I'm looking at the I of I and I'm thinking about the U of I, and I'm going, the U of I has to be mirrored and repeated. It has to be copied. That way we know who we are, the they of I. And I've been trying to figure out what the they of I is particularly for. The they of I is also a mirror. The they of I is the mirror that we can use to adjust our behavior on purpose without compromising our U of I. Our U of I determines our ethics. Our U of I can be someone lifelong, but our they of I requires changing and upgrading. We must do this because I will tell you what happens if you don't. When you have a community, you will mirror the people in your community. You can't help it. We learn through mimic and repetition. The people that you choose to interact with on a daily basis become a mirror. They are your mirror. I was talking to somebody tonight at Community Campfire, and they gave an example of a common spousal argument that they had, one that we all have experienced a million times over. They explained the conflict, not relevant, and they explained how they would interact with each other and they would start mirroring each other's behavior. They explained that during their temporary breakup, this individual would stabilize and be fine. But the minute she brought this other person around, they would begin the conflict again. They couldn't figure out why. And I'm thinking, well, they haven't resolved their problem. But they were putting particular emphasis on the repetition of each other's behavior. The individual explained that while they very much had this solid, stable behavior themselves, regardless of the fight and the conflict, the individual reflected heavily on the fact that habits that were not their own, that clearly belonged to the spouse, were being picked up and repeated. And my nonchalance was in my mind thinking, yeah, that's exactly how it goes. I immediately compared her situation to my partner's and saw the same thing. And I confirmed in my head, yep, that's how it goes. So then how do you learn? How do you ever get better if your you of I and your they of I are constantly the same to you? The answer is you upgrade the people in your community. You upgrade your network. I just did this. In fact, this is how I changed classes. First, I had my U of I. I had my U of I. I had my U of I's community. And the conflict that he and I had over the last 2 years is a significant difference of opinion over his they of I. His they of I is filled with drunks, drugs. They're very friendly so long as you are pleasant and you stay on your good side. They do not tolerate anything but optimum happiness. It's kind of understood in that community that if you are anything but perfectly happy, you are gone. In New York City, it is very common that if you tarnish your reputation, you will get the axe very, very quickly. It absolutely nurtures and maintains a required people-pleasing expectation. New York City communities are very difficult to get into. They are 100% invitation only all over the city, no matter what. To get into a community is very difficult here because they are invitation only. So you have to network the hell out of everybody here just to get into a community. And when I was raped in May and I complained, I got the axe. Because if you get raped in that community, it is very clearly understood that you are to keep your mouth shut and smile. My partner was the only one to support me and not give me the axe. Everybody else did. So I'm sitting here thinking about the they of I. I've been rebuilding community ever since, trying to figure out what precisely I want in my community. Where do I find this community? And I've been mostly focused on my work. I did try and put together my own community and my own friendship circles. And then I realized right now I prioritize work. So I have a work network and I have my private life network. Now my private life, sorry, that one got away from me. My private life network is, well, it doesn't exist. I don't have one. I just don't have one. I have not prioritized it because I have many reasons for not prioritizing it. But my primary reason is because this here is too important. So I'm sitting here doing my work on philosophy. I'm networking with my work. My only focus and goal is to get this traumatic healing to the right people who can help me get it to everybody on a massive scale. I'm doing really well. I'm very happy about it. And I'm, of course, making friends along the way, and I'm analyzing my new friendships. And I'm trying to figure out the difference between a work network and a personal life friendship network. And I'm wondering, do you need two separate Are they the same thing? And then I realized that the first network I had was very low quality. It was all female, all women, and it was very catty. I was thrown out because I was not in a happy mood one day. In fact, I went to a networking event about 2 days after that rape, and I received an email that I just need to leave. So I went, okay. I was very upset for about a day. When one of my ladies, one of my friends said to me, it wasn't for you. And one of the things I quickly learned was I was not going to go anywhere in that networking group. Bottom line. And I need to go somewhere. So I found another networking group called Event Raptor. Love this group. And then I found another one. In Event Raptor, I found a gentleman who invited me to power pitching. The gentleman who invited me to power pitching was the director of Charlton Heston. He had connections. He's a wonderful person. In fact, he is responsible for the quality of my YouTube channels going up because he said to me, we're going to work on your quality of your camera and your lighting. And I went, thank you. So I appreciate that. And I noticed the quality of my podcasts went up because of that. I networked more and I found another gentleman. It took me to somebody who was downright abusive. I got away from him. Found another networking event. That opened up a beautiful door, JV Directory. Opened up another networking event. Opened up another one. This one landed me at Easy Way. I learned how to pitch at each one of these differently, directly targeting my pitch to the top dog because I needed their attention to get to the next step. I strategically used pitching, networking, and communication and psychology to flag down the attention of the most influential person in the room every time. It took me about 3 sessions. The first one, I observed and got intel, identified the top dog. The second one, I studied the top dog's behavior, what he was attracted to, what that person was interested in, what that person needed. The third one, I arrived prepared with a pitch so that when I delivered, it was designed only to get that person's attention. It works every time. So I got in with that person. I had my first networking event, and the opportunities that I were looking for are flooding in. I'm looking at it going, yes, now. And he said to me during our meeting, when he screened me and then gave me the invitation to come to this event, he said to me, you need high quality people who get things done. I said, yes. He goes, I have those people. I said, hey, yes. So I'm now mingling with those people. And the very first thing I noticed was that high class, that class system maxed out a long time ago with my middle class, about 6 months ago, around the time I was raped and I was dumped out of that network. And I realized I wanted a network that would nurture me. I wanted a community that would nurture me. And the one that I was in 6 months ago was not. I noticed that my behavior was deteriorating around that network. This was an argument I'd gotten into with my partner many times, where this was an argument that I'd gotten in with my partner many times, where I did not want to be around that community anymore because I could feel my own character, personality deteriorating. They were not good influential people. When you feel like you are the best person in a room, it's time to go. Because that means you are the one setting the example for everybody in the room. And they are bringing you down. If you want to stay there as a teacher, do so. But be mindful of this. Get another network because you're going to need it, or else you won't be in a position to teach. You will be in a position where they will just tear you down. So I get over to the first class, and already I can feel I can spread my wings. I have a lot to learn here. I'm challenged. I love it. There's so much. I'm pushing myself out going, yes, now I can start modeling their behavior. Now, I don't consciously think I'm going to start modeling this person's behavior. Oh, I do because that empowers it. But I'm going to be doing that regardless because that's the way our subconscious mind works. That is the philosopher's compass. That is human behavior. You are going to repeat the behavior of the people you are around. Now, with this knowledge, you consciously choose types of people you are going to repeat their behavior. So if you choose somebody who's a narcissist, guess what you are doing? This is why everybody has narcissistic traits, because everybody is exposed to narcissism unless. If you are not consciously aware of this, you are surrounding yourself with people. An empath happens all the time. Befriend or pick up or mirror their own narcissist's behavior, so much so that eventually the empath becomes both the narcissist and the empath. So they'll be the narcissist in certain relationships and the empath in others. If you are an empath, you are most likely a narcissist to somebody else. I was a narcissist to my partner for a while. When I realized that, that's when I really, really went into the therapy to make sure that that stopped. But I'm mindful. I studied psychology and philosophy. So when I saw, when I knew that everybody had narcissism in them, I immediately stepped back and said, where's mine? Because I will be damned if. So I found mine right away and went, okay, let's get rid of this. And I'm constantly vigilant because, I was constantly vigilant. And then I identified all the narcissists in my life and removed them because I knew that you repeat and mimic the people around you. I got rid of her, the narcissist who was influencing me, back in May. So I'm now talking on classes. I'm now studying the different behaviors between the classes. And I have not yet accumulated all of my thoughts on this, which is why I was thinking about it at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. And I, of course, noticed the different characteristics and mindset of the three classes. Really, there's only two. There's low middle class, and then there is wealth, high class. There is no mindset between low and middle. They're just degrees of the same mindset. That's really important. If you are in middle class, the right financial situation is going to drop you right down to low class, which is why middle and low class people think a class is all about money. Because the difference between low and middle class is money, but not high class. which is why when you have a money mindset, you are toggling between low and middle, so that you have to earn money, earn money, earn money just to get yourself out of low class so you can be in middle class. And as you lose money, you drop back down to low class. But that doesn't exist in the high class world. Not at all. Not even a little bit. I have been around the high class world since I was 15. I should have left the high class world when I was 15. I stayed because of my mental illness. No other reason. It was not possible for me to cross over permanently without this, without my mental illnesses. Now, a person can cross over with their mental illness, but at the end of the day, it's a mindset. And when I finally got rid of my mental illnesses back in May, actually it was April, and then the rape happened, and I had to clean that up. And then I had to sever the ties with my old network. They kicked me out. And I had to reevaluate what I was going to do with networks, what I was going to do with community, what that meant. So I studied philosophy, psychology, and found the philosopher's compass. And I've been analyzing the meaning and purpose of a network and community ever since. The purpose of a network and a community is two things. The first one is resources, but that's not really it. What it really is, our most primary resource is schooling, education, and learning. So the very first resource we get from our community is behavioral models and education. When I say this, take a step back and look at your community. What behavioral models does your network and community exhibit? Because that is what you are copying. You don't get a choice. Darwin, human behavior. Every psychologist in the world will nod their head and go, "Yep." You can't escape this. This is the way it is, which is why you have to choose your people carefully. Now, once you choose a partner, it would be emotionally traumatic for some to develop a deep emotional attachment and then change it out every 3 to 6 months to a year because you want to upgrade your quality of life. So we keep the U of I for years because of that deep emotional attachment. But we are not supposed to have deep emotional attachment to a network. In fact, it is self-destructive if it is. Now, ideally, they of I, your community, is supposed to also be turning over not high levels, but enough that they keep their circle fresh, renewed, invigorated, so that they're constantly being challenged. That way, everybody is a student in the they of I. Boom, there it is. In your U of I, you are supposed to be a mirrored teacher-student. So you both take turns. You take turns so much with your U of I that after a while, you're just the same person because you've mirrored. But in the they of I, you need to be the student. Now, if you find that you have risen to the teacher role, it's time to get another network. And if you're going to keep this network, you need to be mindful that you are the teacher in this area. I went to these events. Hopefully, by the time you develop teacher status, they're just friends at this point. But you need to be mindful that if they are not picking up the game, then they are tearing you down. So if you don't see their improvement, if you don't see their behavior improving and changing, you're the one who's declining. I noticed this with my partner, that he started going to therapy. He started working toward improving the quality of his life. It was shortly after my own recovery, and I had gotten to the point where I had grown and finally was done with my therapy. Being around him, human behavior. If you see someone going and getting mental health, you go get mental health. The reason why this is because of our lemming ingrained survival skill. You don't want to stand out. You don't want to be alone. Do what everyone does. Mob mentality. That's not my mob mentality. But that repetition behavior of you copying is to make sure that you are all inclusive and like everybody else. But if you're not mindful of the power of this repetition mirrored behavior, it develops into a class. Suddenly you have an entire society with the same mentality because no one is changing out their network. This happens when a person fails to know how to network or communicate. And that happens when you dumb down a society and they lack the educational skills to communicate. So when our government decided to hack our education programs to make us more obedient, they also took away our ability to learn how to communicate and upgrade our own network, locking all of us into the same network for the rest of our lives. You have to overcome networking and communication. As a result, this is why the middle class is shrinking. There became a massive gap between the middle class and the high class. The people who were educated, who basically said, fuck you to the government after they cut the art departments and they continue to do art anyway, the artists got smarter, while the non-artists got stupider. Bottom line, the non-artists stopped studying, stopped having creativity. And as a result, that led to significant stagnation, while the artists continue to seek growth. In a lot of cases, the non-artists abuse the artists, the conformists abuse the non-conformists. And now the non-conformists have a lot of mental health they need to clean up. The cesspool of abuse continues and is rampant in the first and second, in the low and middle class, because of the lack of education and lack of awareness. Meanwhile, artists, most of them worldwide now, are in some sort of therapy, pushing towards holistic methods in mental health. But by becoming aware of this class gap, by becoming aware of this behavior, of the influence and power of your personal network, you gain a lot of control. You gain a lot of power. You gain a lot of ability to step in and push your life into a completely different direction. You should not have one friend circle. You should have at least 3 friendship circles. And 2 of those 3, you should be the student. If you have one friendship circle where you are the teacher, it's time to go. If you have 3 circles, 3 networks where you are doing all the teaching, you are stagnant. Because as a teacher, you are not growing. We are naturally programmed to seek out education, providing that that is nurtured in our environment. But in the in the low and the middle class, it's not nurtured. In fact, it's punished. If you try and educate yourself, what, you're too good for me? Oh, you're going to be book smart now? Oh, you think you're better than me? So the low and the middle class have a mindset of punishing people who try and improve themselves. Get out of there fast. If you want to get to the high class, you're going to have to live in between classes for a while. And that's going to consist of you finding a group that you want to model your behavior after of, and then max out so you can move on and grow into the next stage. And it's really important that you, when you are choosing a network, you are selecting people who have the behavior that you want to have for yourself, because you are going to model their behavior. You don't have a choice. This is the human condition. So the they of I is either a mindless group of people. Well, it's a group of people that you are mindlessly tapped into to emanate and mirror and repeat their behaviors. Or it is a strategic group of people who are designed, who you've selected to develop behavior that's going to reflect the behavior you want. So that over time, just by being exposed to them, it's going to naturally happen. This is really powerful knowledge. And when done right and applied properly to your life, it can really be a powerful tool to take you places. One of my biggest problems was noticing that in all of my circles, I am top dog, almost always. And that is the first clue that I use that I need to get out and move on. I ended up at one point with several circles where I was doing all the teaching all the time. And while I was revered and very popular, because everyone was gaining from my experience, but I wasn't. I realized that I was playing teacher to low and middle classes. And because I wasn't at first in teacher mode, I was stepping down my own behavior to mimic theirs. Taking on the teacher role allows me to set the model so that people can rise up to me. But when you're the smartest person in that circle, when you are the emanating top ideal for everybody, it's something you have to remain constantly vigilant on. I do not allow parrots in my life. I cannot have it. I do not allow people who parrot information around me because I do not want to parrot. I am an author, not a book author. I'm that too. I am an author in the sense of I have authority, and I am the author of my own life, the author of my own material. So while I'm delivering my ideas and concepts to people, I've got other people just repeating and parroting my information, or repeating and parroting their information to me. They can't help it. But if you're not mindful of it, in a few instances, I have been around people to the point where I've lectured, I've given talks, and then later, days later, I've talked to the same person, and that person literally parroted my own material back to me while trying to cheer me up and lecture me. And it was so mindless that they weren't even aware they were doing it. I just sat there listening to this individual, and I know my own work because it's mine. And I'm listening to the words out of his mouth. And I'm going, he's literally repeating my own words back to me that I gave to him a week ago. Not a single original thought. And it was this moment where I went, it's time to move on. Your they of I's can become a prison. They can be the thing that locks you in the same old toxic behavior for the rest of your life. They can be the things that, when strategically placed, can set you free. If I were to be completely honest with myself, I believe that one of the reasons my partner and I have remained in contact is because his social skills are so abysmal due to his mental illness that he is hoping that my connections and my network will give him a leg into a better network, which I'm fully aware of, conscious of, and absolutely that's how it's supposed to go. That's networking. In fact, he has said this to me very passively a couple times in the past of go get your own network. And and almost the way it was said, it almost sounded like a life raft. Like, oh my God, please, yes, I would love to upgrade my network, but I just don't know how. So what really brings me back to the class system, this is why I decided to post all of this at 3 a.m. and not wait until morning, is because if we were to, as a collective, consciously choose to position ourselves into a network where we can all learn better with the goal to learn the right mindset, so we can get into first class, the classes will disappear. The classes will disappear. The only reason why the classes even exist is because there is a difference in mindset. There are two mindsets. When I put out my concept of world peace, people laugh at me sometimes. A lot of times. I need to rephrase this. People in the low and the middle classes laugh at me. People in the high class say, all right, let's get it done. And that's the difference. I toggle between both classes right now. And I'm about to leave these ones behind and go over to this one. And I'm sitting here making furious notes on all the characteristics of the two, comparing the two mindsets. And the reason why it's taken me so long to accumulate my thoughts on the class systems is because the low and the middle class really need a fucking wake-up call. Because it was something I said to somebody today. That we were talking about mindsets. And he was going on about one particular point. And I just stopped him and I said, you understand that that is the low and the middle class mindset. And I'm like, it doesn't exist over here. So when I propose world peace and I'm laughed at, I'm not talking to the right people. This really, really was the moment that there are only two mindsets. There are only two mindsets. Oh, you can follow a mindset. You're already doing it. We all can agree on one mindset. You're already doing it. We are all following a societal law. Well, I'm not. I got out, thank fucking God. But the rest of you are. When you follow a societal mindset, a government, a law, you are following a mindset. And all of you are following the same mindset. It's the same mindset in Asia, in Japan, in England, in Europe, in America. It's the same mindset. All of you are doing it. It is a global mindset. The high class, the first class, are already living at world peace. They're already doing it. When you get over to first class, it's a fucking party. It's a party. Because everyone's already living at world peace. So I get people scoffing at me about world peace. And I'm going, they're doing it. They're already doing it. There's only two mindsets in the entire world. The people who are already living at world peace and everybody else. And everybody else is living at one mindset. You're all the same, living at the same mindset. So it isn't a dispute on, here's a proposal. Can we all live on the same mindset is the question posed. Yes, because you're doing it. All you need to do is change the one mindset. Now, I'm not looking at merging the mindsets. I am looking at taking first class mindset and pushing it, giving it to you, showing you this is it. Which means I'm going to have to live between both mindsets so that I'm showing you this is the first class mindset. This is what it looks like. This is what it is. You want it? Network into it. Groom yourself, model yourself. And then when you're done, when you're ready, step into it. I recommend you get 3 networks. One where you are the top dog. 2 where you are learning. Mine is the door. Usually, actually not usually, the door's been open here, but those people don't talk to common man. I do. Because I'm one of you. I can feel it. They've already felt it. They already say, I'm done with it. And they walk away from the mindset. But I'm a philosopher. The definition of philosopher is teacher. So I'm going, students! I'm good. Because I got students. So I have live classes. This is one of the things I'm going to be absolutely doing. Basically, I have an idea of incorporating the class system and using the mindset of class system and the mimic repetition behavior. I'm not going to wait for the funding. I'm going to be starting the World Peace Project tomorrow. I'm going to teach you what the plan is, and then I'm going to lay out how to do it. And it's going to incorporate a few things. The first thing it incorporates is your mimic repetition behavior. I say your in this case because I will not be mimicking and repeating your behavior. I'm going to be emanating theirs. So by utilizing the mimic repeat behavior that is ingrained into us, I am going to be offering free communication classes and networking classes, which I already do. It's called Change Now. which is part of my World Peace Project. It's available on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The idea is that you attend this, and I literally give you the communication and the networking tools so that you can get a better and bigger, different, healthier network. Your friendships are your network. The concept that a network is for businesses only is bullshit. Your family is a network. Your friends are a network, and your coworkers are a network. Bottom line, when you befriend somebody new and they bring you in, you've just stepped into their network. This is how socializing, people, relationships, society works. And if you are oblivious to the networking function, you are at a significant disadvantage. The difference between the first class and the other classes is the first classes know this. The first class know it, and they consciously use this information to strategically make sure that the people in their lives are healthy. Low and middle class people are unaware of this, and as a result, they use emotions and mental illness to collect and pull people around them so that they end up with a mental illness cesspool. Misery loves company only in the low and middle class. In the first class, we don't love misery and company over there. We use Ubuntu. Ubuntu is a Nigerian word that means absolutely nothing in English because there is no translation. It is a concept and it is a mindset. I cannot be happy if the people who I love are not happy. I cannot be happy if the people I love are not happy. There is no competition in the first class. None. That's low and middle class only. I'm going to say it a million times over that the first class is already living at world peace. There is no hierarchy, and there is no prejudice. Correct. The only time you see hierarchy and prejudice is when you are dealing with the low and middle class. It was extraordinary. I'd never noticed it, actually. I was networking last week. We had a group with everybody there, everybody with us, and no one mentioned it. It was not predominantly white either. It was very mixed race, mixed everything. It was like a UN melting pot. Yes. So you are looking at a massive, massive tolerance, celebration of race and gender in high class. In the low and middle class, not at all. Not at all. The biggest thing that you notice in first class is money is so fucking irrelevant. Everyone has money problems, even in first class. But our mindset with money is different. There are literally people with money in first class going, who needs it? I got it. Who needs money? I'm looking to sponsor people. Pitch your project to me. Let me know if it's something I can fund. That does not exist in low and middle class. That does not exist in the low and the middle class. In order to qualify for the high class, you have to be nice. You have to have good energy. You have to be nice. A lot of people are not nice. In the low and the middle class, there's a lot of mean people. So I'm going to literally be giving you how to change your class and what you can expect lessons, and literally walk you through everything you need to get you from where you are in the world over to the high class mindset. And then when you're ready, I will connect you because it's my reputation on the line. And I'm not going to let just anyone in. Because if I let a narcissistic asshole into that community, well, they'll kick them right out. And my reputation will be tarnished. And that has weight in the world. The difference between the high class is reputation matters. Street cred matters. Second perspectives get that. Second perspectives absolutely understand that. They get reputation. I think second perspectives get that. Second perspectives are the only ones who get this, aside from the high class. By the way, you are going to see qualities and traits of every perspective that is favored and cherry-picked by the high class. And it's not done on purpose. It was just subconscious collective. And the reason why is because the subconscious collective took the best of everything and put it over into high class. It's extraordinary. This is just a mindset. The whole damn thing is just a mindset. Now, I will tell you the big difference between the high class. And all I'm going to do probably for the rest of my life is sit there and depict that's because you're thinking low class. Now, I refer to low and middle class as a couple things. The first thing is I summarize these classes as the degradation mindset. Another word for this is poverty mindset, scarcity mindset, lower middle class. It's all the same thing. Degradation mindset versus, I'm going to say, world peace mindset, which is the high class mindset. Now, there is a subgenre that is what I like to call the wealthy mindset. And the wealthy mindset is what a lot of degradation mindsets think high class is, and it's not. The wealthy mindset is the wolves of Wall Street. Oh, Charlie Sheen. I don't have my phone with me. Charlie Sheen. Can't remember the name of the movie he did. Oh, one of the Douglases. Which Douglas was it? Not his father, Michael. Wall Street. Just Wall Street. Yeah, Wall Street is another example of it. All right, so the wealthy mindset is depicted in The Wolves of Wall Street and in Wall Street. Those are not the high class mindset. Those are the mafia, mob mindset. Trump belongs here. This mindset is what happens when second and third perspectives get money. Trump is a third perspective. The mob, the mafia, second perspective. Oh, good God. The Godfather, second perspective. Oh my God, is that second perspective? When the second and the third perspective get money, they develop a third mindset. It is the wealthy mindset, but there's still second and third perspective. When you watch a movie, these are the mindsets that are depicted. When people ogle, oh, here's the other one. Fourth and fifth perspective. I'm loving this. Oh my God, I'm loving this. When fourth and fifth perspectives get money, they create yuppie land. I hate the word yuppie, but I really don't know how else to communicate it. Beverly Hills, you know what I'm talking about. So there it is. When the fourth and the fifth perspectives get money, they fall into that class. This is the class. Oh, here you go. Hamptons. Oh, there you go. Now we're talking my language. The Hamptons. I know a lot of people in the Hamptons, and they are very fourth, fifth perspective. The high class is sixth perspective plus. They are philanthropists. Now, you cannot get, oh, this makes so much more sense. This explains your the misunderstanding that the other classes have. This makes so much more sense. Okay, so second and third perspectives and fourth and fifth perspectives have put you can't get into this club unless you have money. But that's not the way high class works. It's a mindset. So sixth perspectives open the door to the mindset, and then they give you money, and then they sponsor you, and then they help you, and then they network, and they show you resources, and they put everything you need right in your lap. Yeah, that's sixth perspective for you. I'm really enjoying breaking down the classes. And that really explains why people think that money is the door to this, is because you guys are seeing what Hollywood is showing you. Don't believe Hollywood. Don't believe Hollywood. All right, this makes so much more sense. Okay. When it comes to world peace, strategically using the they of I to literally educate and grow yourself, and to have an example. Basically, there is education. There is mimic and repetition. This is what I learned from Plato. This is how you educate. Yes, you have education. And you also use mimic and repetition and questions. Open mind. Listen. This is why the Library of Alexandria was so successful in teaching, is because it incorporated the 3 types of learning into every lesson. Education, knowledge, mimic and repetition, and questions, open mind listening. That is all I have been doing with my podcast. I have been showing you, hopefully through mimic and repetition, that the emotions need to flow. Does that mean that I throw tantrums? Yes. Emotions need to flow and problem solve. Education. While I color and while I let my emotions flow, I am also presenting problem-solving skills. I'm giving you information and data. And you had better be coming to me as a discipulus, which is why my comments and chat is turned off. Because if you're typing and yapping at me, you're not listening. If you are typing comments, you're not listening. This is a philosopher's YouTube channel. Discipulus, follower, philosopher, is questions, open mind, listen to learn. Education, knowledge. I'm giving you the knowledge. And I'm forcing you, not really forcing you, because you can leave. But if you're going to be in the space, you're not going to be typing up a bunch of questions. You'd better be coming with a notebook and a pen and ready to learn. Questions, open mind, listen. Mimic repetition. I set the example. If I feel like crying, I'm going to cry. If I'm angry, I'm going to get angry. Because emotional pathways is problem solving. I'm going to write that down. You can too also. You know what? I think I finally figured out what my note cards are going to be for. My note cards. Where did my daughter put them? Sorry, Lizzie. My daughter did not put them anywhere. I put them. So I am giving her an apology for accusing her. What did I just say? Emotional pathways are problem solving. All right, so I'm officially going to start using my index cards for all of my Anna-isms. These are Anna-isms. I love my Anna-isms. I'm going to hire somebody to go through all my videos and just write down all my Anna-isms. When I say something really clever, just write it all down. Write it all down. I want all my Anna-isms. And I love my Anna-isms. There's a line in 1776 when John Adams says to Ben Franklin, I have much more better to do than just sit here and listen to you quote yourself. Oh no, that was a new one. Treason, says Ben Franklin. Treason is an excuse to hang by the winners, invented by the winners to hang the losers. My psych brain just tore that down in so many ways. And I went, banned God words. Abusers use words. Crossing out use. Invent words for the sole purpose of abusing and grooming their victim. Abusers invent words for the sole purpose of abusing and grooming their victims. Examples of those words: selfish, useless, irresponsible, lazy, crazy. Oh, there are so many more. I will be writing and expanding on this list permanently. Become mindful of those words. The only reason why they exist in our culture is to abuse and groom victims. By the way, that
is the middle class mindset. That doesn't exist over there. Over there, they say and do things like, why aren't you using that word? Use that word, in reference to arrogance. Or my favorite, and that's where the list of banned but God words comes from. Abusers also ban words for the sole purpose of abusing and grooming submission, weakness, and obedience into their victims. Words like arrogance, pride, ego, so there are two types of words. There are words that are designed to shame you by an abuser, and the other is words that are banned, that you are shamed for approaching. And it is so prevalent in the low and middle class. I can't even say culture anymore because it's just the low and middle class. It doesn't exist over there. They are so prevalent in the low and the middle class that you guys throw them around every day, reinforcing the abuse just in your vocabulary without realizing you are reinforcing the abuse in your vocabulary. When my clients come to work for me, one of the things that I say to them is, there are words you are not going to be allowed to use. And I'm going to point them out to you because all they do is nurture this mindset. I am sorry. Is designed to just shrink you. I was writing these down and my son heard, and he's irresponsible. He's like, that word. I'm like, very good. Yes, very good. Unemployed. That's another one. Unemployed. Which is why I'm probably going to get to, no, I'm not going to say that because that's not true. I might feel that right now, but I know it's not going to be true in 2 days. I know it's not going to be true in 6 hours, so I'm not going to say it. Once you become aware of the different classes, of the degradation mindset, you're going to start removing yourself from it more and more. I taught this to my daughter and my son. My son's fine because he's graduated from high school, so he's not exposed to it. But my daughter is. My daughter goes to school every day, comes home, and she's like, oh my God, the mindset. And I'm like, yeah, I know, honey. So, yeah. Of all my videos, this is one I definitely need to make sure I rewatch because I recorded it at 2 and 4 in the morning, 2 to 3. Thank you so much. If you want to know more about my work, take a look at the link below. Thank you. And if you want to join Change Now, register. The link is, if you click on the link below, there is a button for registration. Click on it and you will get the invite. Thank you so much. And may the kindest of words always find you.